In this video, you're going to see how to wrap these IKEA chairs. And actually, this chair was wrapped at WrapsCon 2017, so it's been on about a year. And what I like about it is that actually you see a lot of damage with the wrap, and these were actually brought back and forth between Long Beach and Dallas. So a little bit of damage that actually protected the wood, but keep in mind that when you're wrapping wood, even though this is painted and these were brand new, it definitely pulls off a little bit of the paint, even though this is the right material, fairly low tack for the most part. So once you take the wrap off, then it's all about cleaning and prepping, degreasing. I'm not going to take off the bottom right now, that's going to stay on, so you'll see that in a little bit. And it's all about just kind of wiping back and forth. Make sure you spray right on the cloth and not directly on the chair itself. Don't want to make it too wet. And this is mainly just a degreaser. Don't have to come back and do a general clean because there was a wrap just on it. And then it's all about, because it's wood, you want to make sure that you raise the surface energy right now. So this is an adhesive motor. This one is from 3M, so a stick now. You kind of break it and then it starts to flow. And then I'm going to go into the spots where the paint came off a little bit right now. Just try to make it as even as possible. Then just do a nice steady 360 degree just on the outside edge. So don't want to go around to the 90-degree drop off on the side, simply just making sure that the edge is set up. So now that the front is set up, you obviously do the exact same thing for the back. This takes about 5 minutes to dry, and then you have to do the install within about 55 minutes, otherwise it kind of loses its effectiveness. So I speed up the process a little bit by coming back in and heating it up so it dries even a little quicker. So once it's good to go and the chair is ready to wrap, I'm going to put the full print on, doing a full print, same image on the front and back. This particular one though is interesting because it's got a, right where the water stops and the sky starts is a straight line. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make that straight line right in the middle of the curve where it goes from top to bottom here. So I'm going to come back with a dual cutter right there, right along that straight edge there. Hit it with the tack cloth, just make sure all the dust is off, and then basically just gonna line up that line to the open sides right there. So just half circles on the left and right. That backing paper cutter helps a lot, just kind of me finding the initial spot. I lock it in with a permanent hinge right now. Once that's set and I feel like it's really good left to right, then I can kind of really start to squeegee the main piece on right now. So I pull off the liner a little bit on the bottom. Then once the bottom's set, I'm gonna come up towards the top. The top is the easiest section because it's flattest, done a lot of curve right there. So I have my squeegee, you can see that it starts to bunch up right there a little bit, and then once I get going, just kind of left to right, side to side. So you can see that with this vertical section, and I have it on a table, it's nice, easy access for me right now. Keep the liner on as long as possible, right to the top edge, make sure it's 100% there, nice and clean. But if I would have done that flat section, it would have been a little in my face, so I just make a minor adjustment, pick up the chair, and then just kind of make sure I squeegee left to right. You can see the material's bunching up a little more on this section than the top. That's why I'm kind of squeegeeing with a shorter squeegee strokes, less of my squeegee side to side, reading the wrinkles, keeping that backing paper on as long as possible, and then just get it straight to the edge. And now it's cutting time. Very, very important to have a very sharp knife right now. So you can see I pull off a little bit of the excess material. Once the material is taken off, then I want to do a 360 with my finger, make sure the edges are set up 100%. Very important to do this. If I skip this step, chance of getting a jagged cut is really high. What's also important is notice my free hand is pulling away about a 45-degree angle with a little bit of tension so that when I cut, it doesn't chatter. Very important. Lots of times when the blade chatters, it's because there's not enough tension on the edge when you're cutting. So you can see that by pulling away and then angling my blade slightly in, it's almost a beveled edge right there on the side. So I want to make sure I cut it nice and flush. Once everything's cut off nice and clean, you can see that I kind of scoop around that corner. Same thing at the top. So just working in stages. Then it's come around and do another 360. It's all about 360s. Sealing the deal, make sure everything's down 100% tight, double checking for quality, see if anything doesn't look straight. Notice that all my scraps went on the table and they immediately go right in the trash. All about creating a nice, good, clean workspace. And going around with heat right now, and not only just making sure all the edges are sealed right now, is looking for any air underneath the surface. Keep in mind that I'm wrapping wood, and there's a high tendency right now when you're wrapping wood that doesn't quite stick. So what I'm doing is coming with this nice roller right now, kind of heating and then rolling it. What this does is really pushes the vinyl deep into the wood really quick. So what I want to do is just go do a 360 around the main surface area. Once I get that down nice and tight, come back with a Sharpie, cleaning up any edges that were dinged up, and that's not necessarily from cutting, that was just kind of from transportation right now. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the back, where I want to make sure that that break between the water and the sky hits that point, but I don't want to wrap too far and I don't want to cut on the chair. So notice I'm doing a measurement from that point, and from the break between the water and sky, I mark exactly where I want to cut it off right there. So I come back with a nice straight edge right now. I'm going from marker to marker right now. And this is just going to swing right underneath that break right there and go underneath the chair just enough for full visual. But again, I don't have to use a knife. So once that's set, coming back in again with the dual backing paper cutter side to side. And this is basically exactly where it's going to fit. And then here I just mark exactly right there where I want to make sure it fits right where the circles are. So I make sure that I'm coming up high. I see that that's not going to quite work because the surface energy is too low. So I'm going to go full cowboy at the top right now, and then come back in and just line those sections up. So not only keep in mind that I'm lining up those the break between the water and the sky, I'm also trying to keep that sun roughly centered. It doesn't have to be exactly centered, but again, I want to try to make sure it matches the front side. So once it's set there, feel like it's nice and straight left to right, simply just squeegee this on. Obviously, coming in this case using calendar film, no need to use cast right now. So once I squeegee it on the top, then I come back in it for the bottom, squeegee it down nice and clean, run a finger to set it up. Very important to set everything up 100%. Click before cutting, always click, and then come back in and pull away and cut. Same thing as the front side. Coming back with heat, double check. You can see the air builds up there, so I'm going to come back in with the roller, make sure that's down super tight. So very important to come back in with that roller and just push everything down. Don't want to have that air lifting over time. You can see how that air just dissipates right now. And now if it's for the bottom section here, don't assume that bottom section is tight, especially with calendar film, because it's a slight curve. You can tell that the material kind of lifting right now, have some fingers right there. So I'm going to relax it first. Very important to relax it with heat, and then come back in and squeegee it, but don't squeegee straight. I want to squeegee at a slight angle and shift those wrinkles, make them flat. Very important to make sure that's 100% flat before I go on. Then it's coming around and just wiping all the handprints off and making it look pretty. So again, what I love about this setup now is it's 100% straight without line. The sun is roughly right in the middle. Everything looks clean and tight. Basically transform this in about 7 or 8 minutes. So good time in terms of install. Great transformation for a standard boring black IKEA chair to one that's now like a sunset, full print, good stuff. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Pate.